I'm Cheryl Kahn. West Palm Beach has a brand new fire chief, and she's a very familiar face.
I'm Matty. I'm the fire chief of West Palm Beach Fire Department. Prior to becoming promoted to fire chief, I was the assistant chief here of emergency management for 2 years, and I've been with the city of West Palm Beach Fire Department for a total of 23 years.
What other things have you had to learn that were different than even being assistant chief?
The time management is quite interesting because I never really realized how much the chief is pulled in a bunch of different directions between phone calls and meetings, and it was kind of eye-opening, I guess, in that regard.
And what's the journey been like for you to get to chief? I understand your family's been in the business and you grew up in the Keys. Can you tell us about how you first got interested in being with the fire department from then till now?
Sure. My family was, my mom, my dad, and my uncle were all on the volunteer fire department in the Keys, in Islamorada. So I grew up around it. Every Tuesday was the night they had their meeting, so I was at the firehouse every Tuesday, and if we were driving down the road going to dinner with the family and a call came out, the entire family went to the call. So we didn't really have a choice as to whether or not we were involved with the fire department. We were on our way to the calls anyway, because they couldn't just drop us off somewhere. And when you're in a small community like that, that's where neighbors depend on other neighbors to come help them. There is no other resource. So growing up around it, as I got older, and when I was looking at different careers and what I wanted to do, I was going to go to the University of Florida, and I kind of decided, rather than go to nursing school, I'm going to explore the fire department thing. I didn't really tell anybody that I was going to do it. I started training physically for it, and tried out, made it into the fire academy, and then I broke the news to my family. Of course, they were overjoyed, but that's kind of how that whole progression went. It was kind of a shot in the dark to see if I would even make it into the academy, and then I did. So.
And did it feel natural to you from the start?
Absolutely not. The first 3 weeks, I was, when they're PTing you at 6 o'clock in the morning and they're yelling at you and you're doing push-ups because somebody else did something wrong, I was questioning, did I make the right decision? And then once we got past the sort of indoctrination phase and we got into really learning, the basic tasks of the job, pulling hose, putting on our air tanks, the SCBA that we wear on our back, and learning how all that's used, it was more interesting to me than the initial few weeks.
At what point did you think, well, I might really get to be chief one day?
Well, they said in the first couple of weeks when we were signing our papers and everyone's, we're in training, and some of the old timers told us, hey, you guys, if you work hard, someday you can have your picture on the wall and you can be chief. So I never really thought that I couldn't. So it was one of those things where I just never felt that it wasn't a possibility.
When it did happen, how did that feel?
It was surprising. It was very rewarding personally, but seeing how excited my family and friends were about it was overwhelming.
In a good way?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. And what's your vision for the future, and will you lead the department any differently than your predecessors?
Maybe not so much the immediate predecessors, but certainly as compared to when I came on, this is a good example. This is the helmet I got. This was my first helmet. You can see how dirty it is. You can see it's covered in soot because we ran a lot of fires in that time, and we never cleaned our gear. Yeah, it was a badge of honor to have the soot and the debris on your helmet and your gear. Now, studies have showed that this stuff causes cancer. So what we've implemented here at the department, and what my administration is going to do differently than the past, is we're updating our policies on post-fire decontamination. We're going to shower within an hour of leaving the fire. We're going to swap our hoods out, our Nomex hoods that we wear. We're going to wash our helmets so that so our helmets will not look like this anymore. It's been a long process of researchers and scientists figuring out what's causing these cancers in firefighters, because they're over 3 times more likely to get cancer as a firefighter. And some of the cancers are up to 10 times higher. So that's one of my missions, is to reduce the number of firefighters dying from cancer in our department.
So the safety of your firefighters is just as important as the safety of the public.
Absolutely.
Okay, and today's we're shooting the interview. We're right in the middle of hurricane season. Now, you were the emergency manager here for many years. What's your advice to the public?
Pay attention and be prepared. One of the lessons we learned after Hurricane Katrina is when the government issues an evacuation order, we've got to do everything we can to get our friends, our family, our neighbors out of town. We're right on the coast, and if we had a large hurricane like an Andrew or a Katrina, and we've issued an evacuation order for the inland zones, not just the barrier islands, we need to heed those warnings, because we do have some homes in this area that were, late 1800s, early 1900s, that are not going to hold up to a big storm.
And the department was just awarded a grant from FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, for almost $160,000. What's the money going to be used for?
That's going to be for training. So it's company officer development, so they're going to take classes like our FEMA training classes, so that they're better prepared for large-scale disasters. And we're going to do driver engineer training is one of the things. So some of the newer people that are coming on the job are going to learn to drive the fire trucks, the pumpers, the ladder trucks, and obtain state certification for that.
So is the department hiring any new firefighters?
We are. We have an application process open right now. The specifics are on the website, and you go onto this WPB.org, and you go to the job opportunities section and apply.
And what kind of person would make a good firefighter?
Someone with a lot of heart, because we can teach people the ropes. I'm looking for people that have heart. If you can prove to me that you have the drive and the heart to want to be a good firefighter, that's the type of person we're looking for.
Sounds good. Well, thank you very much for your time, Chief Matty.
You bet. Thank you.
Chief Matty says she's proud of the West Palm Beach Fire Department and happy to be leading it. I'm Cheryl Kahn for WPB-TV.